Welcome to KQEG and 7 River Sports. I'm your host, Terry Erickson. Each week, an in-depth look into sports, wellness, fitness. Well, today, an in-depth look at the life of a high school activities director with brand new Logan AD, Jordan Gilge. Welcome to the show, Jordan.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Well, you're a couple of weeks into your new job.
Yep.
Any surprises so far?
No surprises yet. I mean, there's things that happen every day that you don't expect, but I think as an AD, you come to expect the unexpected. And at this point, it's nothing that I haven't dealt with in a similar capacity at other schools I've been at. So it's been good so far. Definitely some things that pop up, like I said, that it's like, whoa, wasn't planning on working on this today, but things that I have handled, like I said.
Throughout the show, we're going to talk about the complexities of being an AD, but a lot of people probably don't know, who's this Jordan Gilge? Can you share a little bit about your background, would you?
Yeah. I grew up in northern Wisconsin. I went to Prentice High School and graduated from there, came down to UW La Crosse, and I got my bachelor's in sport management with a focus in strength and conditioning. And I finished that up, and then I knew I wanted to be an athletic director. That was one of the goals I had set for myself. And I got the opportunity to work at Holman High School, interning there, working with Lindsey Groning, and Ron Johnson was also there. He had retired from Onalaska. So that was kind of my foot in the door to see how this world was and what I thought of it, and really enjoyed it, and coached freshman boys basketball there as well. And just it kind of hit me that if I want to be a high school athletic director, I need to put some time in at a high school doing something before that can happen.
Well, let's go back a little bit. Was there ever a time, did somebody inspire you when you were younger, when you were a student athlete in Prentice, that kind of said, this is kind of the field I want to pursue?
I think for me, I knew that I really enjoyed sports. I loved playing, and I also knew I wasn't going to do it very long after high school. I wasn't a college athlete on a competitive level, just intramurals. So for me, I always thought of it as this is a way to be involved in athletics as a career without actually playing. And coaching didn't necessarily occur to me either until I was in college, that was something I wanted to really do. But I just had, I had good coaches. I played football, basketball, baseball. I had good coaches who were good role models for me in lots of different ways. Such a small school, we didn't have a specific athletic director. Our principal did all that, so I didn't even know that was, a real position that, in some bigger schools that just one person had and focused on. So
you really did prepare yourself in a variety of ways because of the complexities and the many hats you wear as an AD. And it struck me as interesting that you were also involved in Total Sports Network, so you had a little bit of experience in that area. You were in Colorado, you taught, you coached, you did a lot of different things which brought the whole package together in preparation for administration.
Right, and I think that was, I actually did with Total Sports Entertainment and Bob Misavich. I worked with him that summer after I graduated, and then I did the Holman internship later, and that was a great, little window into the world of professional sports. It was working mostly with minor league baseball teams, but just being around athletic events is exciting, and I really enjoyed that. As a high schooler in college, and then getting out doing some of those internships. And
years ago, the schools were very autonomous. And in the last few years, schools have embraced the community kind of philosophy, where schools are now accessible. Their schools need to be deeply involved in their communities, and there's accessibility. So it's more than just what it was when I grew up. Mm-hmm. And is that something you've noticed too?
Yeah, I mean, especially being. And, I was in Colorado, Canyon City High School, and then West Salem before coming to Logan. And I really see that, especially from the community's expectation of what a high school can offer. And, with facility sharing and those types of things, but also working together. I just got a call today from somebody wanting our football team and band to help out and perform at an event because, they're a big part of the community. So I think it is important for for families and the school and community members to work together to share facilities and to work on that relationship, because it's huge, and it is kind of the expectation now, like you said.
I first met you when you were an AD at West Salem. We did an outstanding job, and I can see why you were certainly a prime candidate to move to Logan. But what was the reason? You were in a high-profile position in West Salem. You did a remarkably good job, very complex too. What was the reason for wanting to move to Logan High School? When
I was at West Salem, I taught part-time and was the athletic director. I wasn't activities there, just athletics. And an amazing school district. I am so thankful for that opportunity and made a lot of good friends there, and just everything about it was great. But it still was that seen as a part-time athletic director, part-time teacher, and trying to balance those two jobs out, as anybody who's done it knows, isn't the easiest thing. Also at a school like West Salem that has every athletic opportunity that some of the bigger schools in the area have. It's a complex job, like you've mentioned, and to balance those was not always the easiest thing. And to be honest, I felt like I wasn't as good of a teacher as I could have been. And I recently got my principal license, and had gone through that process, and just knew I wanted that next step to be a full-time administrative role. And when it opened at Logan, it was just a great opportunity.
This is an interesting article I read recently, deep in the archives. In 1930, there was an AD in the Midwest that was quoted as saying, people don't really understand or appreciate the life of an AD, how complex it is, and it's how complex it is.
And that's in 1930.
In 1930, it's like, of course, the role has intensified dramatically since then.
Right.
But I had to chuckle when I read the article, because it's certainly applicable now. Right. Because of the complexity.
Yeah, well, it's good to know they thought that in the 30s. So, because it's absolutely right. There's just a lot of stuff going on, a lot to keep track of.
Providing equity for students is a big role, and we're going to again drill down on a lot of different things that an AD does. But something like 45 years ago, President Nixon signed Title IX, where it particularly pointed out about equity with girls and how and the opportunities should be there, and of course they have made dramatic changes at the college and at the high school. And then and a follow-up article recently said there has been significant gains, but yet there's still a gap between what is offered to boys and what is offered to girls, both at the high school and the college level. And there was a concern. Is that something that you've noticed or think needs to be addressed?
I think it's a district-by-district basis on how that is interpreted. Again, going from West Salem to Logan and spending about a month at Logan now, I don't see that gap. I think that the offerings are there. I think they've taken great steps to ensure that there are similar offerings and also similar support, whether that's financially or just with using the facilities. So in my experience, I don't see the gap as much as others do, and maybe just because I'm young and haven't done this for decades yet, I haven't seen all of the little things that show inequality. But to be honest, from my perspective as a coach and as an AD over the last decade, I see that the school districts I've worked in have done a really good job to make sure facility usage is equal, make sure that the budgets line up, make sure that the offerings are similar. And in respect to Title IX, that's really what they're looking at, is are the offerings similar? Are the monies being divided up in a similar manner? And the three districts that I've spent a lot of time in, I think, have done a good job of that. And I personally just haven't seen that discrepancy.
Well, that's good to hear, because just recently in nationwide, an internal audit demonstrated that there were equipment inferior equipment sometimes with and scheduled deficiencies with girls versus boys.
Yeah. And I can see how that happens, but again, I think it's really how a district handles it, and I've just been fortunate to be in really good districts and to be a part of administrative teams and groups of teachers and coaches who really have done a good job keeping it on the same level.
I know that there's been a question, and it's year in and year out, about the benefits of a young person being involved in high school activities. Mm-hmm. How would you answer that?
Well, I think, and Mr. Genevico at Logan just mentioned something like this in our parent meeting, that the number one predictor of academic success is attendance, so you got to be there. That makes sense. And the number two predictor is, are you involved in co-curricular activities? Are you doing stuff outside of school to make yourself better? And that correlates with your academic success. And I think if you go and look at these really successful people in life, and it's not necessarily famous people, it's successful people, they've been involved in activities. They've done what they can to put themselves out there and gain a variety of experiences. And I can attest to that as a former athlete and being part of clubs, but then also out of the high school setting, what did I do to get myself better as a person, in college? Do you just go to college, or do you get yourself involved in other groups through volunteering or extra work? And I know my wife and I have done this from time to time. We sit down and try and count how many jobs we've done, since we were teenagers. And it's like 20 something or 30, it's just a lot, because we just wanted to work hard, and whether it was to make money or to gain the experience, that drive was there. And I think those kids that have that drive and are going to be high achievers are going to naturally want to be involved in lots of activities.
Well, it reinforces what I believe in, and what I'm sure what our viewers think too, and that's the benefits of co-curricular activities. We're going to step aside just for a minute. When we come back, we're going to talk more about the life of a high school AD right after this.
At Schneider Heating and Air Conditioning, we have assembled a championship team
who listens to what your needs are.
We install carrier comfort systems that improve the comfort, efficiency, and the air quality of your home and workplace.
We serve you with highly trained technicians who are prompt, friendly, and honest.
For Gold Star treatment, turn to the experts, Carrier and Schneider Heating and Air Conditioning.
Schneider Heating and Air Conditioning, your comfort is our business.
Welcome back to Seven Rivers Sports. Today we're breaking down the life of an AD with New Logan Activities Director Jordan Gilge. Well, the complex job of an AD, we kind of talked about that, not in specifics, but one of the issues, one of the real complexities is dealing with parental issues and so on. And I know you addressed that, and virtually all schools have a preseason meeting talking about expectations of players. Mm-hmm. But is the expectation of a parent, is that stressed enough?
You try, you do everything you can. I know in our meeting that we just had last week, we have a whole section on, parents, this is what we would love to see from you. As a parent, as a part of our high school and our community, this is what we would expect from you. The tough part as a parent is how do you hold them accountable? And there's times when it can just be tough to do that, to be honest, to hold a parent accountable. And I think that's the big challenge, is the majority of parents are doing a great job in supporting their kids and volunteering and doing all these amazing things, and you're just so thankful for those parents. And the small majority that are making life harder for an AD are usually the ones who you're struggling to get to those meetings or to do those types of things.
One of the key sort of strengths of a AD, in my view, is to be able to find, train, hire good coaches. It seems to be more difficult all the time because of the number of coaches that are not on staff. Mm-hmm. Just a lot of people, just the whole dilemma of coaching and the time and dealing with all the issues. A lot of people are choosing not to coach anymore. Yeah. But finding a good coach and then training him and holding him accountable, or her accountable. How do you deal with situations that are part of your responsibility? And let's just break it down a minute, like playing time. What do you expect a coach, how do you expect him or her to address that?
I think with playing time, you want your coaches to set very, very clear expectations on that. So if we're lower level versus a varsity level, those coaches within the same sport might have a different expectation on playing time. But what's important to me as an AD is that the coaches clearly define those expectations, whatever that might be. So if I have a freshman coach or a JV coach who's made it clear that everyone will play in every game, then the coach has set that expectation. I then would expect them to stick by that. If the expectation is different than that, same thing. My thing is I want coaches to be consistent. And playing time is that big issue that always gets people riled up, and and I think it does impact what level you're coaching. Playing time expectation is going to be much, much different. But I just really hope that and encourage our coaches to set an expectation and then adhere to that, stick to that, and then I can always back you up when you're getting any flack for it.
What if that expectation is not realistic? What if that expectation is not what you believe in as an AD? For example, if there are some coaches that do not see that playing time is important to keep kids motivated and out. So a coach doesn't play kids, and that's what he believes in, and you believe differently. How do you address that?
I think it's a difference between what's your philosophical belief on something versus what's your actual expectation. So as an AD and former coach, I have philosophical ways I would coach a football team or I would run a basketball team. And if a coach that I oversee differs on that philosophy, I'm okay with that because it's their team. Now, if it was something that if our district or as a department we say we're going to have an expectation for playing time for freshmen and this is what it is, if that coach doesn't adhere to that, then that would become a problem and we would have to sit down and talk and communicate and figure out how do we deal with this, how do we both get on the same page. But if it's one of those deals where a coach just wants to run his own and I think you should play man and I know that's better, it's okay for that coach to do that because that's their philosophy.
Okay.
But I think the guideline or expectation set by the AD needs to be adhered to by coaches. I would say in this instance, we don't have a specific guideline, or any school I've been at in the past hasn't had a specific playing time guideline for those lower levels. So that would be something that I would have to monitor. And then if there was a major disagreement on what I saw with the coach, it just starts with a face-to-face meeting and you talk about it.
It absolutely. And let's move real quickly to a couple different things. Expectations of coaches to teach leadership skills.
Mm-hmm. I think that's, I mean, as the longer I'm in as a coach, as an AD, just as now a parent whose kids will be going to school pretty soon, I just see that as the biggest thing that we have to offer. Everybody wants to talk about playing time and complain about that, but that's one of the least important things, to be honest. What's important is whatever that authority figure, that coach is trying to do for you, how are you responding to it? And I want to, as much as possible, teach our coaches to teach leadership skills to our student athletes.
Handling officials. Expectations of your Logan coaches and how they handle officials.
My expectation for myself and any coach that I've ever worked with, whether I was a head coach overseeing them or as an AD, has always been to be as respectful as we can. You're going to disagree at times. There might be some times where you're heated, but we should never cross the line. We should never cross the line to where it gets personal. We should never cross the line to where it becomes something that puts the school, Logan High School, in a bad light, embarrasses the school, where you're going on and on and on. I think it's important for coaches to realize you will disagree, there will be bad calls, and it's okay to talk to officials about it. And you might get heated. Everyone has a different personality. That stuff just doesn't rile me up. I just want to be as calm as I can, but I get it that other people are going to have a little, more reaction to certain things.
One last quick thing on coaches. We'll get to a couple other things. Marketing the program, recruiting players. Some coaches don't think that's their job to recruit athletes, market their sport in the school. I firmly disagree. I think it is the job of a coach. Your thoughts?
I think it's the job of the coaches, the AD, teachers, administrators, everybody to promote co-curriculars and to say to any kid who's not doing something, here's all the stuff we offer. So I agree with you. It's our job as educators to do everything we can to educate these students. And like we talked about earlier, the second biggest indicator of academic success is going to be, are they involved in co-curricular activities? So every teacher, every coach, every administrator should be out there trying to get kids to do something. Now, when it comes to a specific coach, you know, I want you to do this. I don't want coaches to try and pull kids away from other sports, but if there's kids out there who don't know what they're good at or don't know what they want to do, absolutely, let's go talk to them. Let's encourage them to be a part of something really positive.
And knowing our 5 children have gone to Logan, my wife and I graduated from Logan, and our grandchildren now, 2 of them are there. You are blessed to have coaches that agree with that.
Yeah.
Real rapid fire drill. You ready?
Yep.
Real some quick ones. Your role as an AD, drilling down even deeper, fundraising.
It's a challenge, and I'm going to have to dig into that more. Every school district is different, but fundraising is it's a big thing that takes a lot of work, and you're working with your booster club, you're working with those local companies, and it can be a tough deal, and that's something I kind of get. I'm going to have to spend some more time working at that.
Behavioral issues, eligibility issues.
I think with those, again, you set your expectation through your meetings you have every year, and you adhere to those guidelines. And when kids are in trouble, you have face-to-face meetings with them and their parents, and you talk through what happened, why did it happen, and educate them on how to come out of it a better person.
Recruiting and hiring quality officials that are accountable and that have high expectations of themselves and work hard and do a good job. Hard?
I think it can be, yeah. But I think it's building relationships with those people, having them want to work for you. Do you take care of officials? You know, do you do a good job of getting them paid on time, making sure that they're treated respectfully? So those types of things are, you know, I think very much in the AD's control. And then, like I said, build relationships with people, you know who you can trust, and you build good rapport.
Building a vision.
I think it starts with talking to your coaches, talking with your administrators, and all having a common place you want to go. It can't come just from the AD. If the AD just says this is the direction I want to go on something, and nobody else agrees with it, it's not going to be a shared vision. It's got to be a shared vision. Developing
a culture of enthusiasm, high energy, and a positive atmosphere, a positive role in the school activities. How do you do that?
I think it starts with teaching hard work above everything else and commitment to team. So if you teach hard work and commitment to team, especially in the summer, and you get all these kids working out together, and boys and girls encouraging each other and seeing each other as equals, not as this sport is better than this sport, you create a family-like atmosphere. You create really good, hard-working student athletes who make pretty good teams, and then when you have pretty good teams, it's pretty fun to support them.
As we close the show, a little bit daunting, a little bit somewhat intimidating to follow Steve Hull, the former AD, who was a good friend of mine and was there for forever.
Yep. I think with that, and Randy Nelson, superintendent, gave me really good advice in that you're not trying to fill his shoes. You're just starting over as yes, you're taking his position, but you're going to be yourself, and you're going to be different on some things, and everything that Steve did well, which was a lot of things, you want to try and keep it going. And I just got to be myself at the same time.
And create your own identity. But I think after watching the show, our viewers would agree that Logan High School made the right choice when they hired Jordan Gilge as their AD. So
thank you. Appreciate that.
Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, have a
pleasure
good
being here.
School year.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. We'll be back with some closing thoughts right after this.
At Schneider Heating and Air Conditioning, we have assembled a championship team
Who listens to what your needs are.
We install carrier comfort systems that improve the comfort, efficiency, and the air quality of your home and workplace.
We serve you with highly trained technicians who are prompt, friendly, and honest.
For Gold Star treatment, turn to the experts, Carrier and Schneider Heating and Air Conditioning.
Schneider Heating and Air Conditioning. Your comfort is our business.
Welcome back to Seven Rivers Sports. I hope you enjoyed our interview with Logan's new AD, Jordan Gilge. Congratulations to both Holman and West Salem, Legion Baseball, for advancing to the national tournament in their respective divisions. We are currently finalizing our schedule of high school football as well as UWL games. Look for that posting here on KQEG in the next week. We still have plenty of youth and plenty of adult recreational activities to enjoy the outdoors here in the Cooley region. Check with what's going on and consider being involved in some of those outdoor activities. We continue to broaden our list of guests. If you have a thought on a guest or a topic, please contact us here at the studio. Check your local listings as we continue to bring you Knights of Thunder Racing every Thursday, every Sunday night at 7 p.m. Thanks for joining us this week here on 7 Rivers Sports. I'm your host, Terry Erickson, hoping you will have an active and a healthy week ahead.